question around to the people that asked me, why at 10:38 on the night of May 2nd would Joe Biden take time out of his schedule to sit down with me in a dark bar at the Beverly Hilton, sort of positioned behind a column so people couldn't see us, to have a discussion about his family and my family and business at a very high level, where Jim Biden sat and Hunter Biden participated in. I'm irrelevant in the story. They weren't raising money from me. There was no other reason for me to be in that bar meeting Joe Biden than to discuss what I was doing with his family's name in the Chinese CFC.
And this is a company with direct connections to the Communist government of China. So the former vice president has said he had no knowledge whatsoever of his son's business dealings and was not involved in them at all. But this sounds like direct involvement in them.
Yeah, that's a blatant lie. When he states that, that is a blatant lie. Obviously, the world's aware that I attended the debate last Thursday. And in that debate, he made a specific statement around questions around this from the president. And I'll be honest with you, I almost stood up and screamed liar and walked out because I was shocked that after 4 days or 5 days that they prepped for this, that the Biden family is taking that position to the world. And once again, I'm irrelevant in this discussion. I just was brought in to run this company and have been exposed to all of this fact. And I believe the American people should see this fact. I would have much preferred the Biden family go on record and define these facts for the American people on the globe versus me sitting here having a discussion with you on it.
So Joe Biden has not denied meeting with you in Los Angeles, correct?
Correct.
Tell us about the conversation that you had with him.
So I initially was sitting, because I got there a little earlier, was sitting with Jim Biden and Hunter Biden. And Joe came through the lobby with his security, and Hunter basically said, hey, give me a second. I'll go over and give me 10 minutes to brief my dad and read him in on things. And so then Hunter and his father and security came through the bar. And obviously I stood up out of respect to shake his hand. And Hunter introduced me as, this is Tony, Dad, the individual I told you about that's helping us with the business that we're working on and the Chinese.
So it was clear to you that Joe Biden's son had told him about this business.
Crystal clear.
Crystal clear. Tell us about the conversation that subsequently occurred between you and Joe Biden.
So the conversation, as you're well aware, Tucker, I grew up the son of a career naval officer. So the president of the United States was always the commander-in-chief, whether they were a Democrat or Republican or other. And so I had the highest respect for Joe and the office that he had held. And so I stood up and shook his hand, and obviously we sat down and I think ordered some drinks. I think Jim Biden was hungry and might have ordered some food. And, Joe asked me to talk about my background, my family. He thanked me for my service. I'm obviously very proud of that, proud of my brother's service and my grandfather's service. And then he walked through sort of his family, obviously some of the tragedies they've dealt with, his political career in a high level. We didn't go into too much detail on business because prior to Joe showing up, Hunter and Jim had coached me. Listen, we won't go into too much detail here. This is just a high-level discussion and meeting. So it's not like I was drilling down with Joe about cap tables and details.
So you've said that they wanted you to meet Joe Biden as a way to induce you to participate in this deal. You were the actual business guy here who had management experience, deal experience. But it also sounds like Joe Biden was vetting you to some extent.
Yes, of course. I didn't request to meet with Joe. They requested that I meet with Joe. And, he's putting his, and Hunter says this in writing, it was referenced multiple times, they were putting their entire family legacy on the line. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were dealing with a Chinese-owned, enterprise run by Chairman Yi, CFC, that had strong financial support and political support from the Chinese Communist Party. That's how it was presented to me. That's not my own words. That's how they presented it to me and read me in on it. And
they being Gillier and Hunter Biden.
They being Hunter Biden, who was very proud of that and taking credit for it when I sat with him for 2 hours on the patio of the Chateau Marmont in L.A.
Proud that they were doing a deal with the Chinese Communist Party?
Well, proud that that he had the relationship with Chairman Yi, who was running CFC, and the ability for them to get deals done around the world and stuff like that.
You've seen a number of journalists, reporters covering this story, including some who should know better, declare triumphantly that no document you've released connects the former vice president to this deal. How do you react to that? What's your answer to it?
So you can imagine what I've been through over the last couple months, and knowing all this to be fact, and watching Joe Biden and his family and their lawyers trout around the world stating that there was no involvement, or even at the debate, Joe Biden referenced that you've seen my tax returns and there's no money from foreign, enterprise in that. I want to simplify this for the American people as much as I can. On May 13th, that email was sent from James Gilliard to me. I didn't generate that email. James Gilliard generated that email. And in that email, James Gilliard goes through intimate detail of what each individual's requests were from a compensation perspective and how the equity in the enterprise would be divvied up. Very important. May 13th, that email was generated by somebody else to me. In that email, there's a statement where they go through the equity. Jim Biden's referenced as 10%, doesn't say Biden, it says Jim. And then it has 10% for the big guy held by H. I 1,000% sit here and know that the big guy is referencing Joe Biden. That's crystal clear to me because I lived it. I met with the former vice president in person multiple times, and I had been meeting and talking with Hunter Biden and Jim Biden and Rob Walker and James Gilliard. Where the media has tried to hide, and I personally feel it's disgusting, is between that May 13th email and the final document that was executed called Oneida Holdings, LLC. In Oneida Holdings, LLC, the equity is broken up 20% Hunter Biden, 20% Jim Biden. Well, there are LLCs that represented them.
Right.
20% James Gilliard, 20% Rob Walker, and 20% me and my investment entity. What I'd ask the American people to read and look at is how from May 13th to the final Oneida document that got executed did Jim Biden go from a 10% owner to a 20% owner? That's not my question to answer. I'm sure there were discussions within the Biden family. I wasn't privy to that discussion. But this is Jim Biden, the brother of the potential future president of the United States. It's not a distant cousin. It's not an employee. It's his brother who in documents defines himself as a political advisor to his brother. And so I'll leave that to the American people to answer that. But I don't understand how the American journalist is allowing that gap to be even talked about and defined.
So, and I should say, and I want to put the document on the screen, in his pitch to the Chinese, in his bio, Jim Biden describes himself as an advisor, a current advisor to his brother. So was it clear to you from the beginning that what Jim Biden was bringing to this deal was his relationship with Joe Biden?
Yeah, 1,000%, crystal clear. After I met with Joe Biden the morning of May 3rd at the Milken conference and then was taken backstage after Joe had spoken, we joked around for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then I walked him out to his car. I think he was, I think they referenced he was off to see the lieutenant governor.
This is Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, yes. Yeah.